Hello, everybody. I am, of course, Marlon, and you're listening to the Ashita no Anime podcast, episode number 2. Eric is back, and today we are going to be talking about samurai girls. Basically, I think the main reason that I even thought of recommending samurai girls to you at all was I think the thing that stuck out to me most when we had our conversation about Excel World was when you were saying that you thought that Excel World's art style was too generic anime. It just didn't stand out from the crowd, and I thought, well, let's see, what can I think of that is really got a unique style? And I thought Samurai Girls. So let's start there. Art style. What do you think?
Um,
Did it fit the bill for being different?
for the most part, I actually really enjoyed the art style. I mean, there's still the fact that I've seen softcore pornography less explicit than this TV show, but the art style is actually, I think, really nice. It makes use of an art style that I really like in the Sumei or
Mm-hmm.
inkblot paintings
Yep,
that I think,
that's exactly it.
yeah, I think it's one of the more gorgeous styles of simplistic art. There's a certain fluidity and use of the black ink it's really stunning to me. And actually, watching the fight sequences reminded me of back when Street Fighter 4 was announced. They used a trailer where the two Shoto clones, Ken and Ryu, had a fight, and their actions were followed by these black ink blots. So, like, as they would fight, you'd see strokes and blots and like arcs of black ink that followed their motions. And I was really hoping the entire game would be like that, and it wasn't, and that made me sad. But then this came along, and it's like, oh, wow, that would actually work out really well.
Hmm.
So yeah, I
But
actually,
but it seems that you weren't able to get past the etchy.
um, yeah,
You like the
there's,
art style, but the etchy just it was just too much for you, huh?
it's not. It's not etchy in the way of Elephant Lied or Wolf and Spice or Spice and Wolf or whatever. But it's more etchy in the way of High School of the Dead, in that this is very clearly meant to arouse and play to pretty much every fetish that I've seen so far. You've got the tsundere childhood friends, the subservient maid, the 15-year-old schoolgirl who goes around wearing a swimming suit,
The little
the
sister,
yeah, but that's really creepy, by the way.
Imoto, yeah. Even though she's not really his sister.
Yeah, no, that's a thing that gets played up a lot in fusion circles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't necessarily say that it's very much playing to a baser audience. I don't think. I think there is a certain role for ecchi, but at that point, it doesn't really become. It's not really ecchi at that point. It's more playing to the story. This was very much playing up that sexual imagery with a lot of panty shots, a lot of naked breasts, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I really like that you brought up High School of the Dead because that's another I would say etchy series that I really enjoyed because I this is kind of how I look at this kind of etchy. It's just like it's there and it's there if you like that sort of thing, but it's got a lot of other good stuff on the side that, for me at least, I'm able to just ignore the etchy and say, oh, whatever. All the rest of this stuff is pretty good. I'll watch it for the rest of this other stuff because when I look at a lot of etchy series that I don't like, I think of stuff like Heaven's Lost Property, where it's just you got these. It's just lecherous, you know. It's sexualized in such a way that it's about the sex. It's about it's about that about women being kind of a, what do you call it? I don't want to say subservient or, yeah, but that's almost it. It's like women being objects. And I don't really get that from this so much. It's just because it's there. It's just something that's there, and it doesn't, you have the women in strong roles despite it being there. You know what I mean?
I don't necessarily know about that. They were pretty well objectified in this series. I mean, they aren't really all that strong, relatively speaking. You've got girl Yagyu, who is
Jujube, yeah.
Yeah, Jube, who until she kisses Mune Akira is incredibly weak, like weaker than the average person apparently. Which, by the way, I kind of loved. When Hanzo used her scouter for the first time, and it was over 9,000.
It was over 9,000. It was 5 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I very silently said it was over 9,000.
Yeah.
Until Jubei kisses him, she is completely worthless. I've read ahead, and that's going to occur with Yukimura Sanada as well, and probably
it's going to happen with
Sen
as well. Yes, those three.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's a certain reliance upon the man, which is also there in High School of the Dead, but is less apparent. And the reason I mentioned High School of the Dead was because I looked it up, and it actually aired earlier that year. And I gotta agree with you, I actually kind of liked High School of the Dead. Crazy ecchi aside.
Yeah.
I would say it's actually probably the better series of the two, but that's me.
I'd say they're comparable, but they kind of have different flavors to them, to where I can definitely see that just depending on what kind of story you want, whether it's zombies or some kind of, what do you say, like alternate history fantasy?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
yeah.
The setting is basically the Tokugawa shogunate is still in power. Japan was not conquered by foreign powers during World War II. How'd you like that opening of the series? Did that hook you at all, or was it just kind of like, oh, whatever?
I'm not gonna lie, it actually it kind of made me really nervous. It reminded me a lot of some really hardcore propaganda.
Yeah, I can see that.
They call it Great Nippon. They weren't conquered. The characters that were used in that opening were pretty much the same as the women in the series, I think.
They are, yeah, they were.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, did they go back in time? I don't know.
I think that may be a flash forward. That scene actually doesn't happen in the whole series. I'm not sure exactly what that scene is. It may just be some flashiness. Another reason I wanted to kind of talk about Samurai Girls is because they've already confirmed a season 2 for 2013, and I'm excited for it.
If they show it on TV again, I hope they do the edits better.
You didn't like the ink spots over the nipples.
It was about 2 steps away from being excellent, which honestly...
What made it not excellent? I thought that it blended quite seamlessly with the rest of the style, because during the fight scenes and all other kinds of stuff, ink splatters across the screen. What made the censoring not good? I thought that was terrific. I thought it was great use of censorship.
necessary thing. The ink blots that are censors don't appear with other ink blots for most of the time that they're around, which I understand. But these ink blots also really stand out kind of terribly from the other ones as something that was added just at, like, the very last minute, because they just suddenly appear and they're much darker than any of the other ink blots. If they had taken, like, 2 or 3 frames to let them bloom, and then just made them, like, a slightly lighter black than what they were, then it would have been an excellent use of censorship, and I would have literally no complaints.
I think you're nitpicking, man. I think that I don't know.
But the fact that they
was it really that far and still that close?
The fact that they thought to use it means that they gave it some very nice thoughts. As far as I'm concerned, yes, that's when I'm allowed to nitpick.
All right, man. If that's what you want to go for, that's fine, I guess. But I don't know. I thought. Can you think of any other series that made such an artistic use of censorship like that?
I tend not to watch such necessarily exploitative series, and I don't remember what High School of the Dead did aside from not showing any nipples. I think
it did those really nasty. They're not lens flares. They're like the light coming from behind the camera has like these white lines that go across. It's trying to be like a sideways lens flare. It's like one step up from a black bar. It's just awful. There's just no art to it at all. I mean, every ecchi series made by the creators, Dogs uses that style.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they would have been better served by cutting down the scenes that would require the use of the black dots, honestly.
I'm not going to argue with you by any means that the ecchi was a detriment to the story, which I thought was pretty darn good. I thought that the action, it sounds like from what you were saying, the action scenes are pretty good. And, well, I guess you weren't really hooked on the story, but what would you say? If the ecchi had been either toned down or even completely removed, would this have been something that possibly you'd have been a lot more interested in?
Well, there's still the high school bullshit to get past, but honestly, yeah, probably. I mean, it's, I think it's trying to make itself a harem series that also kind of has an underlying plot, which, is really reminiscent of Tenchi, which I admittedly watched in the formative years, and I do enjoy Tenchi, so, I mean, I could probably get around to enjoying this if it didn't make me feel dirty.
All right. Let's see. I don't know. I thought that there were a couple of points where, I don't know, maybe it tried and maybe it was unsuccessful for you, but it kind of caught on to me that there were at least a few scenes where it was actually using ecchi as a story building element. Like, I believe it was at the end of episode 2 where Jubei reawakens again and she gets into a fight with Sen, or maybe it was at the end of episode 3. Is there 2 or 3?
Yeah, that's in 3.
Okay, and she gets into a fight with Sen, and Jubei cuts off all of Sen's clothes, and Sen is all embarrassed and covers herself up, and then Jubei uses that as an excuse to say, "Oh, look at you! You're a woman before you're a samurai. You can't call yourself a proper warrior if you're so embarrassed that you can't fight in the nude." And it kind of puts some spin on these characters' natures. It makes Sen a woman, and it makes Jubei a monster. It kind of, I think it leads to some good characterization there. What do you think? Is it just an excuse? I thought that it was doing pretty good there.
I would honestly say it's just an excuse.
Mm.
She was the only one who hadn't been stripped down up until that point, so the fact that they chose to do it then is probably more an excuse to get her down than anything else. Plus, humiliating the tsundere, who was still pretty stereotypical, but I mean, I don't know. I kind of enjoyed that she ended up that scene running up to the end of the fight between Yukimura and Matabe.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe they turned Yukimura Sonata into a 15-year-old girl, though.
Yeah, though almost all of the other characters in this series are also historical Japanese characters.
Yeah, but they're not all from the same time period, which is really weird to me.
Mm. I'm not, despite living in Japan, I've never studied Japanese history, so you could make up anything, and I'd defer to you as an expert on Japanese history because I know very little about it.
The only reason that I know as much as I do about it is entirely because there's a series of games called Sengoku Basara that I
I've
really
heard of
enjoy.
those.
That's based around the Sengoku War period.
Okay.
Which also made for an excellent adaptation for the first season anyway.
Something else that's I found interesting about this series is I didn't realize this until I'd watched it like the third time, and I'm kind of a voice actress buff. I like to follow the careers of various voice actresses and see what they're doing. And if I like a particular voice actress, I might check out some of their other work just to see how good they can do their job and various other stuff like that. Like I basically follow Rie Kugamiya religiously. She is one of my favorite voice actresses, and she is the voice of Yukimura.
Yukimura, yeah.
So, and for those listening out there, she's also the voice of Shauna, Luis, what else? Who else? Alphonse from Full Metal Alchemist, Nagi from Hayate no Gotoku, Yori from Idolmaster. A lot of great characters. She's had a wonderful career. But I don't know if these other two voice actresses that I have recently started following their careers, I don't know if Samurai Girls is kind of where they made their break. I don't really know how big and popular Samurai Girls got at any point. I mean, there are quite a few promotional products for it that came about, like spin-off stuff, so it had to have met at least with a margin of popularity. But Aoi Yuki is the voice actress for Jubei, and she is also the voice actress for Madoka from Mahou Shoujo Madoka, and for Toru from A Channel. And then there's Minako Kotobuki, who is the voice actress for Sen, and she also went on to voice Sumugi from K-On! And Yuko from A Channel. So, two of the main girls are in one of my favorite moe anime, A Channel. That was interesting. I found that to be I always find it interesting when several voice actresses from a previous series, I find out that they also collaborated on another series. They worked together. Do you follow voice actresses at all? Or is that just not enter into anything of your anime fandom?
It really doesn't. I mean, aside from the fact that I'm honestly more likely to watch it dubbed than anything else if I'm catching up on a series. The dub for this is really terrible, by the way. Don't watch it. Don't ever watch it.
There's been very few dubs that I've liked. I am very much a purist. I mean, I will, if I'm rewatching something, I might even just turn the subtitles off and just listen to the Japanese if I need to do something else while I'm rewatching it.
Yeah, but no, I don't really like. There are a couple voice actors that I pay attention to, but I don't necessarily like watch everything that they're in or uh, go out of my way to watch everything that they're in anyway. It's just I don't really. I would rather watch story and animation first.
Yeah, I can understand that thinking. Um, my kind of rationalization behind it is voice actresses. I don't know. It doesn't. Does it happen as much in America? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But do they get typecast a little bit to a certain extent?
Yeah, definitely. Like if you watch enough of the same animes on either side of the pond, so to speak, you're
Well,
going to
let's
run
call
into
it the
the same
lake because
voice.
it's bigger than the Atlantic.
Okay, the lake. Then you're going to run into the same voice actors a lot, and I've also noticed that in anime too.
How much work has I don't know this American voice actress's name, but you remember Rika from Digimon 3?
Yeah.
She has
Okay.
had so many dub roles for content that comes out of Japan. It's silly. And I think the latest dub that I can remember her doing is one of the main girl from Devil Survivor. What was her name?
She didn't do that one.
Yeah, she didn't.
No.
Hmm.
No, I just pulled her. Well, if she did, it's not listed on Wiki. Melissa Fawn.
Oh, okay.
That's who we're talking about, by the way. Melissa Fawn.
All right. Thanks for looking that up.
Yeah. Yeah, she didn't do Devil Survivor. That
I
reminds
could have
me.
sworn that was her voice. Yuzu. That was the character's name. I could have sworn she did Yuzu's voice.
That reminds me, I need to play Devil Survivor.
Do you have a 3DS?
No, I do not.
You should get Devil Survivor overclocked. It's better than the original, yet so similar. Um, any other thoughts that you want to talk about, Samurai Girls?
Papa. Well, I know it's not technically the same thing because these aren't supposed to be the same people anyway. I mentioned a series last night that I think that this is really. I used biting off last night, and that might not be accurate, but they're definitely taking some cues from. There was a series a while back called Ikki which has
I
been
recognize that name, but I do not know if I watched it. It doesn't.
um,
It doesn't sound too familiar.
I only ever read it. It's actually been this should tell you everything you need to know. It's been localized as Battle Vixens apparently to the point where the English Wikipedia page is Battle Vixens. Um, in it, the characters are largely busty high school females who fight each other for various reasons. The point of which is that each of the characters is a reincarnation from the Three Kingdoms period of Chinese history, which has been
Wait, I think I know what you're talking about. Ikki was it this year or last year?
no, it got an anime like 2003.
Oh, okay. I must be thinking of
And,
something else because what you're talking about sounds really familiar.
and maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was used again. I kind of think that the idea is cool. But the Three Kingdoms period is probably most famously depicted these days in the Dynasty Warriors series and the Romance of the Three Kingdoms video game series, for better or worse. For most people, that's for a worse.
I'm trying to remember what that was. What you're describing sounds really familiar, and I wrote a review for the first episode of it not so long ago. Um, hmm. Well, I'll have to post it in the comments section for this podcast because I cannot recall what it was off the top of my head. And I'm not going to waste too much more time looking for it. Let's see. I don't have a whole lot more thoughts on Samurai Girls. I hope I didn't torture you too much with it by suggesting it. Was it at least an enlightening experience, or was it just did I just put you through something you'd rather have not have experienced?
I'm not gonna lie, I had to force myself to watch the third episode. But I'm also probably gonna blow your mind a little bit in that, unlike Excel World, I actually could see myself suggesting this to people. Excel World was pretty much the epitome of generic anime to me, and that's not something I will ever suggest to anyone. But this, at the very least, had style points going for it. Like, I would probably go ahead and tell people to find the uncensored version because the ink blots weren't really covering up that much. It didn't really do itself too many favors, but
I'll agree with you there. They don't cover much.
Yeah, but I could definitely potentially see myself suggesting this to someone.
Now, that doesn't surprise me at all. So, I don't know, considering that I actually rank both Excel World and Samurai Girls pretty close to each other. I think I actually rated, well, maybe this is a good indication, I actually rated Samurai Girls higher than Excel World. So, in a weird way, we're in agreement that Samurai Girls is probably better than Excel World in some aspects, at least, in the overall concept or the overall big picture.
Yeah, and I don't know if the fight scenes get any longer later on, but I mean, this was more or less gorgeous, except for all the times when Jubei had those random black tentacles showing around. That was kind of distracting.
Black tentacles? You mean the ink?
Yeah.
Her ink powers?
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, whenever she was just kind of standing around in a fight, she'd have the black tentacles just kind of going off. It was really a lot like the aura from, say, Dragon Ball Z or most other fighting animes.
Yeah,
Like just something to show how powerful she was in comparison to everyone else.
Yeah, but I don't know. I keep saying I like those little details. It's like, okay, they take a concept that's overused, like the glowing Dragon Ball Z hair or the aura, and they just make a little tweak to it, and it's just like, okay, you're trying. You got something a little bit different here. That's cool. You're not just falling into the same pitfalls every single time. I like those little things. I think they kind of add up over time to make a little bit bigger a bigger product. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. They're trying, and that's something that I can appreciate. I don't know. I think they're trying a lot in a wrong direction.
Yeah. I'm definitely in the party that ecchi rarely enhances an anime. I mean, I think there are several anime to where it's kind of the personality of the anime, and Samurai Girls is probably one of those. High School of the Dead is another one of those. Nanaka Box is another one of those that's airing right now. But I think for the most part, it works to the detriment of the anime, especially when it's stylish like Samurai Girls, or if it has particularly good writing. I thought that Freezing is another anime that kind of falls into this area of ecchi action where clothes fly off in the middle of a fight scene. And I thought that Freezing had some pretty good writing, some pretty good action, but Freezing takes the ecchi even further than Samurai Girls does, if you can believe that. And it really hurt Freezing. I mean, I really liked the story that Freezing was trying to tell, but it was just ruined by the ecchi. The ecchi was just totally unnecessary. I mean, that is one where it's the identity of the anime, but it really brought it down.
I literally have no idea how you can take the ecchi any further than Samurai Girls and still be able to be aired on TV.
Well, Elfenlied did air on TV originally.
Yeah, but I can imagine that that's not because of the ecchi. Because for everything that Elfenlied did, I would not say that the ecchi was first and foremost.
Yeah, I believe Elfenlied actually aired at like 2 a.m. Japan time.
Yeah, that's the only time that I can imagine that going, because even if you set aside the ecchi, that was still among the most violent animes I've ever watched.
Indeed.
Yep. But yeah, no, I could definitely see myself suggesting this to a certain type of person. Although I would probably suggest Sengoku Basara as a better series that has Yukimura Sanada. And actually, these other characters as I'm reading this character list.
Yeah. There's a lot of liberties taken with history. That is definitely something, though, that I have a penchant for. I like alternate history, even if it's, what do you say, weird or not particularly well thought out. If it's just like borrowing names, like Samurai Girls is doing, I kind of like those little references. It's just, I don't know. It's a style that I like. I think that there's really nothing more to be said about it than beyond that, really.
I'm not gonna lie, I would love to see an American equivalent where Georgia Washington fights Abraham Lincoln.
Gender bended?
Well, it is here, so why not?
All right. Do you have any closing thoughts? I think that we can wrap this up any time now.
Not really.
No?
It seems to hit the time period that you want to go for, too, so.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I want to say thanks for listening for everyone. This is podcast number 2 on the Ashita no Anime podcast number 2, wrapping up. I am Marlon, and you are?
I guess I'm Eric.
Okay, you're Eric. Well, maybe next time we do this, we can pick something that you enjoyed watching and something that I hated, because it seems that I kind of want to mix it up. I don't want this to be stuff that I like and people talking about why they hate stuff that I like. I should get a chance to talk about why I hate stuff that other people like.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
All right. So if we do this again, let's go for something like that.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric.